Hello, world. I'm Jesse.
I'm Dallas.
I'm KP Zizzle.
This is our guest, Kayla.
And we're doing our BLACKkKLANSMAN spoiler review. So BLACKkKLANSMAN takes place in the late 70s.
Early 70s.
Early 70s?
The movie
1979.
The events took place in, I think, in 79. The movie takes place in 72, like early 70s, I think.
Why would they do that?
They're referencing
the blaxploitation movies and all that stuff they talked about. A lot of that was more relevant in the early 70s.
All right, this movie takes place sometime between the year of 1970 and 1979. Ron Starworth has decided to be the first black cop in whatever city he lives in.
Colorado Springs.
Starworth. He becomes a detective in record time, and to prove himself, he decides to take on the Ku Klux Klan. He recruits Adam Driver to be the second Ron Stallworth to help him infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan, which is a plan that doesn't make sense to me because Black Ron Stallworth is on the phone, sounding completely different from white Ron Stallworth.
Maybe a tongue twister. Really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
pretty much after the first phone call, they could have just completely switched.
Because he's on the phone like, "Hello, hi, are you the Ku Klux Klan? I'm Ron Stallworth." And then Adam Driver shows up and he talks like Kylo Ren.
Like, oh, you must have been sick.
Because they talked to him after that, and they're like, "This is Ron? You sound so different
Right?
on the phone."
Yeah. It's like,
And it's like, yeah.
I got it.
And when he meets David Duke in person, he's
Doesn't
like,
change his voice
"Have we
at all.
met before?" So it's like the voice is clearly an issue, and it's like you could have
But
just
they
had.
explained it a little.
Did they know?
Yeah, Topher Grace / Duke was all like, I would tell if you were black. Because black people, they elongate their
Sure.
A's and
They
their
say aura.
aura.
They say aura. Which is the weirdest stereotype I've ever heard about the way
never-
black people speak. I've never
Aura.
heard that one before.
Have I said aura?
I don't think any of you have. I've never.
don't know.
I don't
gotta
know.
look out for it.
But I've also just never heard that stereotype before. It was a new one. So
Yeah.
I mean, I know that,
Points for creativity.
Ebonics and speaking differently. I've never
Sure.
heard that one specifically. But, aura.
But also, again, it's like, okay, fine. He sounds like a white guy on the phone.
But not
he does
that
not sound
white
like
guy.
that white guy.
If we were just talking about a movie, they'd be
Mhm.
like, they did it for narrative reasons. But we're talking about real
Well,
life. Like,
But I also think,
is this-
the guy, Ron Stallworth, probably still wanted to be a part of it. Like, that's kind of the whole
Yeah.
thing. This is my investigation, not
Although I've
yours.
heard different things, like
So-
he wrote letters and notes, didn't always talk on the phone, so I don't
It
know.
would make a lot more sense. So, imagine, I called you. You've never seen me before. But we have, these long, in-depth conversations. And I'm like, I'm going to meet you tomorrow. And Colin shows up.
Yeah, like, I didn't talk to you.
Right? You're not
I
the
didn't
same
talk to you on
person.
the phone. Who are you?
You sound different. You talk different. You have different personalities.
Are you Jewish? I loved it.
Cool.
That was great.
I liked it fine. I thought it was... I enjoyed my time watching it. I didn't think it was great. But I liked it fine.
I'm
Good.
in between of that.
Cool.
Between the two of us.
Yeah.
In between great and fine?
Yeah.
So, good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Fine,
good.
good, great.
It's like a stairway to greatness.
But Ron Stallworth, besides that the telephone conversation, was a pretty interesting character. I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that
The actual Ron Stallworth?
Ron
The
Stallworth,
protagonist of the movie.
The actual
BLACKkKLANSMAN.
he was
Right.
very interesting. He made a couple of error judgments that I wouldn't have. He honestly shouldn't have continued dating Patrice. I thought
like
that
him a
voice
lot.
was going to stop.
You thought what?
I thought the voice was going to stop when he wasn't around white people.
Well, no, because that's the voice he uses the first time you see him.
Yeah, it's
like,
just his voice.
But I don't know if there's supposed to be a subtle, a nuance in the way he talks and then the way he talks on the phone, because I do think he's doing it a
Extra
bit more when he's on the phone,
Maybe.
saying God bless white America.
Yeah.
See, that's my problem with it.
a real white man.
I thought it was going to be like
He's speaking differently.
I think the reason I only think this movie's fine, I think a lot of the things they tried to do, it didn't quite go there all the way. Kind of was he using a white voice? Was he changing it? It's like, I don't know
But-
if that's what you were trying to do, because he didn't really do
I
it.
mean,
He kind of did it.
Yeah, but I think with this one, the white voice isn't so much the focus,
Sure.
yeah.
so it's easier for them to not really put too much try to do a white voice.
And I didn't harp on it that much. After the first scene when he was around other black people and he was still speaking with this Western European accent, I was like, oh, that's just how you speak. Cool. Let's move on.
King's English.
Yeah.
King's English, yeah.
As far as his relationship with Patrice, I get why he didn't tell her he was a cop. But at the same time, he's trying to defend cops. I feel like that would come better if you were like, "Hi, I'm a black man and a cop."
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get that point across that there are decent cops.
I think it's with her it wouldn't.
Maybe.
No.
But
And that was
then-
kind of
And it didn't.
And it didn't, like, he saves her life.
And she's still like,
And she's
Oh,
still
yeah.
like, you know, you're a cop. I can't get down with you. And it's
also,
like,
you lie.
but we'll both glide towards the window together.
I wanted to like her.
Yeah.
And it's not even that I dislike her. It's just like, there's certain things she says when I'm like, you know, I definitely feel you. It is, you know, tear down the system, black power, all the power to all the people. But just like, no, all cops are racist.
And you can't fight the system from the inside.
And he's like,
that was the
That
main
was
one
it.
that I.
That's the
didn't
best way to
agree
fight
with.
any system.
yeah, they can't find the system from the inside. Like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Yeah,
That's
but
how you fight
honestly,
systems.
I didn't care about their relationship at
Yeah.
all.
Some scenes, like, I like the scene where they're walking down and they're talking about, like, the old movies.
You mean that long ass bridge? What?
Yeah.
What was that bridge? They're walking for forever
Oh my God.
on that bridge.
It was in
Where
Where
Colorado.
did they come
That's
from?
probably Bridges.
There's a
Yeah.
tiny nitpick that I guarantee neither of you guys noticed, but the freaking camera work on this movie is driving me nuts.
Okay.
That entire scene is out of focus.
Really?
When they're walking on the bridge, they are out of focus the entire time until they get right up close to the camera, and then they get a little bit too close and they're back to being out of focus. That happens so many times in this movie. I'm like, who?
I'm just
is
gonna
the
assume that was an artistic viewpoint.
I don't
didn't
know.
notice.
Because again,
Honestly,
it wasn't
really.
enough where I'm like, oh, they're doing that on purpose. It just
Yeah.
felt like, nah, you forgot to focus.
I think that scene, since they're showing, like, giant movie posters over a lot of the scene,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really look at them
Yeah.
until they were close
Yeah.
enough to the camera that they were in focus. And I was like, hey, Pam Grier. Hey, Shaft.
I didn't.
Like,
That was another conversation I didn't care about. I was like, it was kind of like when you gloss over a book and then you see the pictures, and you're like, oh, a picture.
That scene to me felt like one of those, like they're trying too hard to be cute. And it was like, we need to write the cute part so that they have some chemistry. But I felt no chemistry between Laura Harrier and John David Washington.
John David Washington.
Yeah. I don't think her performance was bad. I think it was eh. And honestly, other than John David Washington and Adam Driver, I feel like most of the performances kind of fell in that category of, it's fine, you're fine, you're not great,
Eh.
you're not bad.
I mean, I didn't really notice that. Honestly, all the other characters were fine to me. I don't believe that she did such a great job being the Black Power activist. A lot of the terms and words that she was using didn't fit as well. It felt like someone who was only recently taught to speak this way. Like, she gave her introduction and it kind of fell flat to me. And then old dude came on and he was just great talking about our hair
Yeah.
and our noses.
That scene was the most glaring example for me.
Yeah.
Because everything else, when she's talking, like, you know, you can't fight the system from this, and this, racist cops, this,
You know.
and this, I'm like, you're doing fine. But the scene when she was introducing
announcer.
Kwame Ture, I was cringing.
Yeah.
Because it's like the most visible example of like your acting. This doesn't
Mhm.
look natural. It looks like it doesn't feel natural for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like a problem with the direction they gave her or if she's just not really like that
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
come,
yeah.
come
She's not a
natural
good
to her.
actress, I don't know.
But the thing is, like, for the rest of the movie, I was fine with her. But it's just like that, like, the man, Mr. Kwame too, right? And it's like, relax. When she's trying to put extras on it, it's like,
And
it
honestly,
feels like you're trying to put
I would
extras
probably be better with that scene if she wasn't trying to put the extras on. If she was
Yeah.
just announcing him regularly,
Yeah, if you announce it
would
like
have
a
been
normal
fine.
person would announce a speaker.
Like, she didn't have to go full Black Power.
Because that's not
with
even
it.
how she talks at any other point in the
Yeah.
movie. She's just
Yeah.
like, he's like, oh, you know, good evening, sister. She's like, hey, brother, how you doing?
Mhm.
And they talk like, oh, yeah, I'm the president of this and this and that. Like, this is
And
a
then all of a
perfectly
sudden-
normal conversation. She gets on stage, and it's like, even for your character, this doesn't feel normal.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
It wasn't comfortable, but
she's doing all the head bobbing and stuff, and it's like,
luckily it wasn't that long. And we got straight into
yeah, because
Kwame.
what's
Kwame?
the actors.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't
Don't-
write it up there.
Damn it, I knew his name.
Who are we talking about?
I'm so upset.
Kwame?
The guy
Oh.
who's Dr. Dre.
His name's Dr. Dre. That's his character's name.
Dang it! I knew
Literally
his
just
name
looked it up before this review,
a
too.
minute ago. He was great.
Dr.
Black
Dre.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like all
And
of that, like
that was a real well shot scene. It was
yeah, it turned into like a nice little montage of like
That was weird.
of the
man.
people.
was
The
it?
montage of the people. I felt like this movie was trying too hard to go, hey guys, this is the important scene where we wrote a beautiful speech. Look how affected everyone is.
I didn't see that. Honestly, it reminded me a lot of those movies. I didn't watch a whole bunch of them, but of those movies that were so like pro-black,
Mhm.
and they would have a lot of sequences like that where you have like the people that you're focusing on.
We can see all the time someone giving a nice speech about black is beautiful, but this time we got to see
The beauty,
the effect
of
it had on the audience, because we got to see like
the woman
the
who
smiles
looks
on the
like
like
I
there's
am
one
beautiful.
particular woman and she looks up when he's saying it, and like you can see her smiling, and it's like
That's
Which
not my
is
problem.
funny.
My problem is not that she looked up. My problem is that then her head floated off of her body.
Yeah,
and
your
started
problem is
flying.
like
it was
the
the
way
style.
it's
The
shot.
style was definitely my issue
yeah,
with it,
because
and
it's
I
just dark,
understand.
and then you just see faces, like you don't
Right.
see people.
To me, it felt like not style over substance. It felt too much like we're using the style to show the substance.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
I get it. You could have just shown her face and how affected she was by these words. I'm not going to call it a negative. It was
Yeah.
just something I
Yeah, a personal
personally
preference.
didn't like. Not, I won't even say I didn't like it. It was just weird. It was weird, and it was weird that the movie wasn't that for the rest of the movie.
It's not as weird as you go further into the movie, because there are 2 additional scenes that don't fit with the basic structure of how the rest of the
What were
movie
the
is
other
shot. The second scene, which I ran out to the bathroom for, was when he was discussing the lynching, and then again at the very end, which was a huge stylistic choice, which I thought was kind of silly, but it was pretty interesting, was when there was a knock at the door
The glider.
at the end, and then they
And they glide
were
down the hall.
Oh yeah, that
gliding,
was weird too.
and I was like,
But see, at least
okay.
that one to me didn't feel so out of place because the entire movie was hinting at this blaxploitation kind of tone, and then they just embrace it at the end.
I wasn't
I
ready
like
for
that
it.
because that felt like a
But
callback
yeah.
to their conversation.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
She
Like,
has a gun, he has a gun, and they're
I
doing
understood
the
why
I
we're
was just
doing
like,
that. It
what
looked cool.
are
That's
they
fine.
doing? Why are they gliding past the door to the window? Like,
Yeah, that was weird.
That
wouldn't
was
it
what,
be at the door? Did
But
somebody
at that point, we're
knock
in like
and
some
run out
weird
the window?
alt-universe anyways.
And we just go leagues across to the Ku Klux Klan again. But yeah, it was definitely... Those are definitely stylistic choices, which made me think at the end
Mm.
that the first one fit more in the movie.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, I also think the characters were one note for pretty much the whole movie. Patrice definitely was,
Yeah.
except for Ron Stallworth and Ron Stallworth. Adam Driver's character, I thought was
Yeah.
really good too.
Flip.
Flip.
flip, flip, flip.
I think he was one of the only characters that we really, like, delved into.
Mm.
But that one scene where he is just randomly talking to Ron about... I never really thought I was that Jewish, but apparently I'm Jewish enough.
Mhm.
Was a very interesting scene for me, and I really enjoyed that
Also, his
one.
performance in that scene was so powerful for not really showing that much emotion.
Yeah.
He didn't.
He's
Cry,
so
he didn't do-
But
calm
that
and
kinda
casual.
showed it
Like his tone
more.
is so casual. Like I never really thought I was Jewish.
Mm,
And the way the scene ends with he's like,
I don't want.
and
this
now
anymore.
now it matters a whole bunch. Like if that's passing, then I guess I have.
I also
been
love
passing.
he gives him the KKK card. He says, "I don't want this." It wasn't so much what he was doing with his face, what he was saying. It was just there was something beneath the layers
Mhm.
where you could
Yeah.
feel the emotion that he was feeling. That combined with when Ron first calls the
I love
KKK for the
that.
first time and Adam Driver's slow
Turns
chair
over.
turn, I was dying.
But I love it
That
because
was
like
hilarious.
everyone in the room is doing that.
Yeah.
But the way he's doing it is great because
Steals the
he
show.
does a complete 180 in
Yeah.
slow motion. He's like on the phone.
Wait,
He's
doesn't
like,
it like segments? He's like,
Mhm. He hangs up and he's like, "Tell me you didn't just use your real name."
Yeah, I did not expect that to
That was
be what he
hilarious.
said. I honestly forgot he used his
Oh,
real name
man,
until
that was
just
so
then.
good.
I thought he was going to say something like, "Did you just schedule a meeting with the Ku Klux Klan?" Or something like that. Not, "Tell me you didn't use your real name."
He's like, and then he keeps
Didn't
going.
even
He's
occur
like,
to me.
"Ron Stallworth, that's his real name, right?" Like,
Yeah,
Ron
he
Stallworth
keeps
is his
calling
real
him
name.
that.
And then Ron is like,
I love how much shit he gives him though.
and he's like, "Well, have fun with your redneck friends."
Right.
Like,
Flip was getting on my nerves because at
Ooh,
no
okay.
point did he try to do the Ron voice. At no point
Well, that's
did
what
he
bugged
try
me
to do
about
the
both
Ron
of them.
voice.
That's what the whole beginning
Well,
of the video
it's
was
like
about.
it makes sense that Ron doesn't change his voice because he was already introduced that way, and then we have
True,
a
they know that
scene.
very-
We do have the whole
We
scene.
have a scene where he tries to teach him how to talk his
that's the
way.
thing. We have
And
an
then
entire
nothing.
scene.
Nowhere.
And it,
Nothing.
it's complete. And I feel like that scene.
You want to talk about
It was
how
funny.
my life is
It
in
was
your hands and
hilarious.
everything?
It was great. It goes nowhere because you completely
Disregarded
abandoned
it.
the
Sound
effort
like
to make
Adam
it
Driver the rest of the movie
sound.
He didn't even try.
Before we leave, Flip, I want to talk about the fact
before he
that
flip away.
that last scene when Ron is getting beat up by the police and Flip comes in.
Oh yeah.
He was so over
Like I loved it because
was
like
so
he
over.
has his back
He was
100%.
pissed too.
He like
Not
he
even
got
just
out of
pissed.
the
It was
car.
like exasperated pissed.
Like, why is this
Yeah.
a thing that
God,
we're dealing
yes.
with?
He gets out of
Idiots.
the car and he's like, "What are you doing?" It's like he's an undercover cop. You idiots! And he like
He
throws the
throws the
badge.
badge.
He throws the badge
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
so pissed. And I'm like, Have your boys back.
Right?
That was one of the only scenes that I
can't.
thought
Mexican. We don't like to touch.
made Patrice Dumas a necessary character. That was the only
A
scene that I
necessary
thought
character, you said?
that made her necessary, because that whole sequence happened
Someone's got to be that damsel.
well, because they were trying to kill her, even though she wasn't even in danger, because old chick sucks. I don't know why.
Oh,
they
that was so
trusted
stupid.
her.
She was trash.
That
The
was
chick
like a
planting the
bad
bomb.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wife.
The wife of
Felix.
that dude I can't stand. Felix.
There was no reason to trust her, even though
She's so
when
stupid.
she's not being racist, I just want to give her a big old hug because she
It's
looks
so
so
funny
huggable.
because when we saw the movie the first time, this woman comes out to the door. She has like cookies and an
looks so
apron,
sweet.
and she's like, big soft round woman.
She's just a little.
And Kayla leans over and she's just like, I just want to give her a hug.
Aw.
And like 90% of the stuff that Kayla says to me during movies, I don't respond to
Okay.
because I don't like talking during movies, especially if I haven't seen the movie. She said that, and I just kind of like laughed a bit. But I was thinking, you probably don't.
She's
Like
just
the first thing we hear her say after like welcome
It's
to the home,
just a slew.
is like, oh, that nigger girl from the college.
I was like, oh god,
Yep,
you
there
went
it is.
hard. She went harder than anyone else in that movie.
We should just shut her black mouth. It was like,
Jesus Christ.
But
Yep,
again,
there it
see,
is.
then it goes back to the thing where I feel like there wasn't tension. Like you never actually thought Patrice was in danger because you saw how stupid she was, and you just knew she was going to fail from the minute he says, "Now go do the thing."
at that point, my attention went from Patrice to Ron. Because
Yeah.
as soon as he chased her,
Okay.
I'm like,
Did
he's
she
chasing a
stop
white
him?
woman down the street.
Yeah.
No one
Oh, I
knows
get
he's
what
a
you're saying.
cop.
Yeah, yeah.
He's going to get... I knew he wasn't going to die because I know the guy is alive in
Because,
real
yeah,
life.
it's based
But I'm
on-
like, I don't know what's going to
based on
happen to him.
truth.
I love that scene because
It was very.
any scene that shows Klansmen blowing themselves up while trying to kill black people
That was great.
is my favorite. Like, that's why this movie is in my top 10 list.
I was about
Yeah.
to say Adam Driver was great in the movie.
Yeah, he was
Uh,
great. Flip was cool. I liked him a lot.
Ron,
Jimmy, and Flip, them together made this more of a realistic movie.
But
I thought.
also, I want to give some props to the sergeant. He's
Yeah.
hilarious. Like,
God, he was
because
hilarious.
as soon as Ron makes
Well,
that
just fuck
meeting,
me.
he
He was
goes to
funny.
him and he's like, the Klan wants to meet with you? You probably shouldn't go to that. I do love the dynamic between Ron, Flip, Jimmy,
Mhm.
Sergeant Trap because
Yeah, those four.
like
They make
especially
it
in a
real.
movie in this era, like having these like these good white men just be
It's nice.
nice and like they know Landers is a dick, but they're like we're family, blah blah blah. But it's like this guy's a dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
I like that line that he said because when they were like, we're aware of it, and then he said
He
something.
said, "We're a family, and right or wrong stick together." And Ron says, "That reminds me of another group."
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they go
Which
to
is the KKK.
Yeah.
and then they go to
That was
them
cute.
shooting black targets.
That reminds me, I want to take back what I said, where I said none of the characters other than Ron and Ron were two-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
The captain, I actually thought, was interesting, because he is both the nice guy and also not at the same
Yeah,
time.
He's right on the line of
He's right on that
racist.
line. I
Goes
thought that was
between
the only subtlety of this movie.
being
had.
the oppressor and being
mild
the assistant.
antagonist
Yeah.
to supporting the protagonist.
Well, he's like,
Because
it was
he
like, I'm
gives-
trying not to be racist, but I'm just inherently racist.
I feel like he was, he's that guy who's like raised in a racist society, and he just believes things that you just believed back then. Like, he said, "Oh, Hoover was right when he said the Black Panthers are like the single greatest
Mhm.
threat to our blah blah blah."
Mhm.
And it's like you don't have a problem with black people inherently. You have
Yeah,
a problem
yeah.
with like these radical black people. You're just buying into all of the
The hype
racist
and
narrative. I wanted to like the chief because of certain scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I have your back, and I'm like, cool, I like you. And then later on, he's like,
You don't like.
I'm like, oh,
That's why I
don't
liked
think
him.
I like you. But then he arrests Landers, and I'm like, I like you
Yeah.
forever. And then he's like, delete all the evidence. I'm like, what?
Right, exactly. But that
What's wrong?
what I
with you?
loved about it was the dichotomy was cool.
It was a lot.
I wish we would have gotten more of the danger involved with being undercover. I feel like we never hit. We had the one scene with the
The lie detector.
lie detector,
Mhm.
which I thought was good. Even though that one it was weirdly played for laughs, sort of.
Some of it.
Yeah,
There were
some of it
certain
was-
lines.
Well, he was.
I don't know,
He
I
was
just-
trying to make him sound stupid.
Yeah, I
I
would've
wouldn't
wanted-
It was played for laughs.
Felix, that dude is insane. And he never stops
You know
being
that,
insane.
whatever.
He never stops suspecting Flip. It's kind of weird because it seems like the tension peaks in the beginning because we get the scene where he's pointing a
Yeah.
gun at him and he has a lie detector. And that feels like something that it should build to.
I think,
But we
that might
start
have been my
there, so
problem.
then the rest of the conflict, there's still tension there. Like, he could get caught any moment.
Honestly, I was more worried for Ron than I was for Flip in those scenes because Ron was too fucking close.
Ron is not doing this well at
It's
all.
like-
He's always too close.
Why are you within
In the
walking
car,
distance
he's too
of
close.
them?
They all have guns at a shooting
It's
range.
terrifying.
And
Oh, he just
he's
walks
close enough
out
to just walk
5
out.
minutes
You
after
don't even
like
have a gun out.
barely off
You
screen.
just got a camera. You're not safe.
It's like this
Wanna talk
isn't
about the targets.
the mood feels weird, like he just defeated the clan or something.
Yeah.
But then when he gets to the target, it's the same score,
But it's sad.
but it transitions into a way where it
Darkness.
feels like sad. And then you see he's looking at the targets, and they are like black people, like cutouts of black people.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact,
There it is.
probably a fact. I read it.
Sad.
on the
The
internet.
fact, anyway.
Hopefully it's fact. Apparently, right before they shot that scene, Spike Lee told him that these are not props. We found these online. So these targets made of models of black people actually exist for people to purchase and just shoot at them because they want to shoot black people.
Here's the thing. If you're going to just demonize the KKK,
Mm-hmm.
cool. You
Yeah.
do you. It's the KKK.
Yeah.
Treat them the way every Nazi is treated in every movie ever. However, if you're going to humanize them,
Mhm.
then do it. And I feel like this movie kind of walked a weird middle ground where it didn't want to commit to either.
I feel like they humanized one.
No.
Humanized the one guy.
They humanized
Yeah.
Walter.
And I just thought that was
And
weird.
honestly,
and
they,
I feel like
also
they tried
kind of
with
humanized Duke.
Duke a little bit.
Like, you saw where he was coming. I understood.
Which is, but again,
why.
like, I don't.
I understood when he told his story about when he was a kid and he played with the little black boy across the road. No, that was
Ron
Ron.
told that
Ron.
story.
No, his nanny, right? When he was talking about his nanny.
Yeah,
But he was
yeah,
referring to
yeah.
her like you would a pet.
If you have all of them like Felix, it's gonna feel like
Too ridiculous.
this is too ridiculous. If you have all of them like Walter,
It
it's gonna
doesn't
feel like
seem
we're saying like the
realistic.
Klan's not that bad. They're
Yeah.
nice guys.
Well, that's the thing. It's like,
But it's like-
have the balls
No,
to do one or the other.
Well, no, because
No.
like legitimately speaking, you have a group of white supremacists. There are gonna be some like Walter, and there are gonna be some like Felix.
And I appreciated that one sequence when Walter was talking to Ron, and he was basically saying, you know what, Felix isn't the type of guy who should run this.
Yeah,
You are.
Sure.
Someone who's sensible. And I saw that, like, I could see how the KKK got as large as it did with that kind of thinking. Because you have to have a smart type of thinking to have a group
Definitely.
that lasts for that long. If you had a whole bunch of Felixes, it wouldn't last any amount of time because it just straight war.
right. They just start blowing stuff up. They were smart enough to be like Walter. They're smart enough to be like David Duke
Yeah.
and hide in plain sight, like the
Yeah.
invisible empire or whatever.
Honestly,
Like I'm gonna be a
Felix
national director,
was-
not a grand wizard, because grand wizard sounds freaking scary.
I barely
Yeah.
thought of Felix
I don't know.
as a KKK.
You take the
member.
context out of Grand Wizard, I think it sounds kind of cool.
It
But-
sounds ridiculous, by the way. I thought
Well,
that
wait,
they
okay.
were the ones that were kind of like the black sheep of the KKK.
Yeah, everyone looks at them and they're
because
like,
they're
"You're
having
buffoon."
like a nice little movie night with a nice dinner, and they're just all like fancy, and then these niggas are going out and tossing out bombs. It's like, we're not doing that today.
Yeah.
That wasn't on today's agenda.
I think-
We had an itinerary today.
Yeah, like we're having a nice dinner with David Duke. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we just
This is a nice
initiated
thing.
the new class of racists, and we watched this racist movie. Now we're
We had
having
a
a banquet.
nice old time.
You guys are going trying to murder people. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't the
This
plan.
isn't what we do.
I think personally, I just didn't find those characters interesting. Like at least
Felix
with
and Ivanhoe. and
with
all?
Ivanhoe, I'm like, all right, at least you're the comic relief. I get that. But Felix was not only do I not like you as a person, I don't like you in this movie as a character. I think you need to not be on screen because
Yeah.
every time you have screen time, it's a detriment to the movie. That's what I felt.
I think they needed a legitimate.
They need a threat. The Klan is definitely a threat. But, like, to Ron, Flip, Patrice,
Mm-hmm.
Felix is the threat.
Yeah.
Because the Klan
and it
is
was
like,
because he was.
you know.
He was.
I felt
someone
like
who
he was
could be
never a real threat because I'm like Felix versus.
If he put the bomb in, they would have been a threat. He shouldn't have
If
trusted
he
his
had,
wife.
yeah, had he done that, but he didn't. He trusted
Dumbass.
his dumbass wife, and it was like, "You are a dumbass.
But
Trust your
she's
dumbass
alive.
wife.
But
These dumbass
I
plans,
did
and we know
love
we're not
that
gonna
one
work."
scene when he like shut her down in the middle of the meeting, and she was like, "One day, you're gonna ask me for something." I was like, "Oh shit, he's in the doghouse."
That was weird, though, because then he wasn't. What do you guys think of Topher Grace's performance as David Duke?
I thought
It's
it was
fine.
hilarious.
I didn't want to
thought-
see Topher Grace be racist.
Right.
But-
Yeah.
Although have you? Well, I mean, they show him at the end of the movie, but like if you Google,
Yeah,
He
David
David
Duke
Duke, he looks just like him.
He
I
looks
was
like
like,
Topher
I
Grace.
was like, "Oh shit, that's Topher."
Yeah, Topher Grace.
It sucks, too. 'cause
Sorry,
like,
Topher.
Like, Topher, you played this man, and then you know you're going to grow up to look like him. Like, you better do
Yeah.
something to
You know-
differentiate yourself.
He's rich. He's fine. He's got that syndication money. He'll be fine. He can do whatever he
Yeah.
Well, I
wants.
mean,
to.
like, you need to be rich and, like, a philanthropist.
But
You
yeah.
donate to all the black
Classic.
charities.
So I was so curious after this movie because he very easily finds the number. I think in the phone book, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I just know you can Google that.
Wait,
How
what
do-
did you Google?
Contact information for the Ku Klux Klan. Like as if I wanted to Ron Stallworth my way.
Well, in the movie, they put their number in the paper.
That's what it was. Okay.
Which is stupid because they're like, we're invisible. We're the invisible empire. Like, you put advertisements in the movie.
And yeah, they still do. It's on there on
That
Google.
says
You can Google
cool.
it.
I did think it
Requirements.
was very interesting that you call for a simple customer service thing and you get with the Grand Wizard.
That's true.
Like, why are you handling this? Like, no offense, but can I speak to a customer service representative? I don't want this to get lost in the many things you have to do.
I also think that was hilarious because, like, if you take that scene out of context, it's a regular CEO talking to a customer.
I felt like he lost a friend in the end. And I feel bad for him. Like, that was my buddy. I used to talk with you every other day. You know, it was like my pen pal. That's my homie over there.
I didn't even think about
And
that.
then
But I
it
guess,
turns
yeah,
out
that would
you're
have to
black.
suck. To
Like,
Also, side
I lost
fun
my friend.
fact.
Yeah.
Fun.
Apparently, David Duke didn't find out Ron Stallworth was black until 2006.
Nice.
So,
Hold on. Wait a minute.
So that scene wasn't
Wait a
true.
minute.
yeah,
Was Ron Stallworth in contact with David Duke until 2006?
I very much doubt it.
I would kind of love it.
That
if
would
he
be
was.
hilarious. Though.
Right?
He was calling him all the time.
Oh my god.
For
Hey, man.
like 30 years.
Or is it just like
Kinda.
that guy? Because it doesn't have the same impact. It was like, oh yeah, that guy I talked to 30 years ago ended up being black. No, it's like,
Yeah, but if he was talking
it's
to him,
this
like,
guy
a
I've
week
known
before,
for 30 years.
and then like somebody did
Oh,
a
that'd be
story,
amazing.
and they were like,
to me.
and they were like,
Is that why you couldn't come to my wife's dinner?
like you didn't want me there.
That meatloaf was dry. Real dry.
Again, I like the messages in this movie.
You better.
I love them.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's not even just like, obviously, racism bad. But they had other messages in there, like the whole thing with the cops. No, not all cops are racist and all stuff I like. I just felt like, I don't know, the movie itself was beating it over the head a little too hard for my taste. And then everything else was just kind of done, eh. So the performances other than,
Done, eh.
yeah, it was done, eh.
So what was your favorite scene?
I had a few. Seeing the Klansmen blow themselves up. Hands down favorite, by default. I loved when they caught Landers with the wiretap thing.
Oh, that was great.
Did
the
you
very
get it?
end
Did you
of
get
the
it?
movie.
I got it. I really got it. And the rest of them. That was amazing. I like the scene, and this is one I can see a lot of people probably not liking because it lacks subtlety. When Ron is talking to Sergeant Trapp, and they end up talking about like,
Yeah.
David Duke wants to
Make America
get
great
someone
again.
into public office that embodies his beliefs, and Ron is like, what are you talking about? The American people
That was
would
perfect.
never elect
I
someone like
hated it.
David Duke. And everyone in the audience was like, ooh.
It was so meta to the point where I
Yeah.
was like, this is... I get it. I got it. Without you
loved
needing
it.
to
I loved it.
straight
It
up
was-
turn to the camera and go,
it
hey
was
guys,
so cute.
Donald
I was like-
Trump is like David Duke. I'm like,
And it was like-
I understand.
You might as well have turned to the camera and done it, but I love the dialogue. And the fact that it ends with Trapp saying, like, as a black man, that sounds pretty naive.
My favorite scene was in the very beginning when he was talking to the sergeant and the black guy who I don't know who he was. And then he was like, what would you do if one of the officers calls you a nigger? And he's like, and there was a pause. It's like,
Would that happen?
would
sir?
that happen, sir? He's like, ah, shit. And I was like, yeah.
But it doesn't go like, oh, shit.
No, I don't think so.
He goes,
He
oh,
says-
she.
That's what it was.
That was-
Yeah,
that was- See,
that's
the
what it was.
emphasis
With,
needs
like,
to be on the right
7 E's.
Yeah, but I love that
Shit.
scene because it's like, yeah, is that likely to happen? And my question is, what are you gonna do about it if somebody calls me a nigger? Like, isn't that Sarge?
Right.
Isn't that on you?
Hey, HR. How about
something.
you guys do something about
I'd
that?
like to make a complaint. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that was my favorite scene.
The chief and that black guy who disappeared from the movie for the rest of the movie. He was like, all right, you can take my spot. You're black. I'm black. We're going to Walking Dead this
We
situation.
black.
It's going to be one at a time.
Hey, we're hiring a black guy. Can we get that one other black guy that works
Yeah.
for us to come in?
One from Denver. Bring him in.
So we can understand the auras.
The auras.
Yo,
Favorite
favorite
scene? It's probably honestly the one. It's the scene where the Ron's trying to teach Flip how to
to
speak
speak.
like him.
I
That
knew
was
you were gonna
just
say
so
that. That was good.
funny.
It's like,
Although
oh,
it went nowhere.
do
All my favorite people are
It's
black.
the
wanna
most
be
pointless scene
like
in the entire
you.
movie.
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, God,
I
the
hate
OJ
that one.
scene.
The juice.
Oh my
Heisman
God.
Bugs.
Uh,
I feel like that's the kind of like meta foreshadowing that worked for me. OJ Simpson, I love him. That's funny.
for
But I was
now.
like going, can you imagine if OJ ever did something bad? That's when it would.
I feel like they're the same to me because it's the same like intent behind the scene. It's like we're showing you these white people love OJ because you know they won't.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so back to what you were saying about the
But
super sad after credits.
The super sad after credit scene. I think there was
Mid credit? Early credit?
credits.
It's how the
it was
credits
the
start.
credits, wasn't it?
Mm.
I think those credits would have been so much more impactful had they not already hammered home that point so many times throughout the rest of the movie.
I
Had they not
disagree.
already said,
Me too.
But I think that it would have been better had the last few scenes not been so filled with comedy. Because it felt kind of jarring to me.
It was
Because
a
we
weird
had that
shift.
really fun where he's, cussing out Duke. And then they went to that really weird, wacky, thing. And then they go to the Ku Klux Klan lighting the thing. And, that was a cool ending. But then the very realistic shot of that girl dying, it just didn't fit with the lasting scenes. And I felt like they could have done a better job of creating a better sequence for that.
We're going up the stairs again. Because I loved it because of that final shot of the Klansmen around the cross.
mm-hmm.
Is you have them, and that's when you realize, there's no more comedy. It's just, the Klan. It was an interesting transition because the chant starts when you're seeing the Klan, and then we see the neo-Nazis, basically, the white supremacists.
The bored college students.
In the footage, and you get the chant, and it's like a seamless transition that shows, this is the Klan of yesterday, and this is 2017, and these people are saying the same things and doing the same things.
Still.
They spent a lot of the time hammering the point home in the movie, and I feel like that was the final,
nail.
the final hammer of the nail. Basically, we showed you all of this. We showed you the parallels, but, this is literally, you thought maybe this was a joke. You thought maybe we were
Yeah.
it's just like back then. But no, this is literally, in case you haven't got it yet, this is literally
And
the
honestly,
same.
those points aren't for me or Dallas or even you who are aware of this. Those points are for the people who still find a way to argue these points. It's not for
the people
you.
like Trump who are they're not all white supremacists.
Yeah, it's
they're fine people. No.
Yes, I understand that. However, those people are still going to argue with the internet anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Because, again, I know people who I've literally shown them these videos. How do you explain this? And they will.
They'll try.
They'll find a way, a loophole. Well, this should have happened. Well, why didn't he take his hand in his pockets? I got it 2 hours ago, and then I got it.
Well,
1
at this
hour
point,
ago.
it's not. Do you get it? It's in case you haven't seen it. This is what we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah.
It's like in academic essay. In conclusion, look at this.
I love that analogy because I hate the academic way of writing essays. I used to get in trouble for it all the time in English class. I was damn good at writing essays.
Are you?
But I would never.
If
I
you
would.
don't do it that way.
Well, that's the thing. I used to piss off my English teacher, Mr. Kim. Shout out to you, because he would either he had the best and worst of everyone's homework every week, pen on the wall.
Wow.
And just depending on his mood, he'd put mine on either one,
Goodness
depending
gracious.
if he was pissed off enough that I didn't follow the format. Anyway, to me, I was just if this was the first slap in the face, wake up and see that this is still happening today, I would have been like, holy crap, that's a great way of looking at it. However, this is the third slap in the face, and I'm just getting tired of being slapped at this point. That's
And
it.
that's
Future of the franchise.
Future of the
Future of the
franchise.
franchise.
All right, so we're gonna do the Incredibles 2 thing when it picks up right after the end of the first one.
Okay.
So they're gliding to the window.
Mm-hmm.
They see the Klan.
Bad boys, bad boys.
That's what you think.
What you gonna do?
And then
That's what I'm hoping for.
you know how we
It's the ending I want. It's the ending I deserve.
we can give you that. They both have guns. They go out. They have hoods for some reason.
Yeah.
They're like boom, 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 boom,
Infiltrating.
shooting all of them. There's one left, and it's that one that we zoomed in on his eyes.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He takes it off, and it's Andy Serkis.
Cool. But here's the thing. But it's Andy Serkis playing Rocket Raccoon, and Ron Sauer just grabs him, and they just
And they start shooting all the
shoot all the Klansmen in a circle.
Boom. All right, you can find us
That's
at
us.
the Reshoots on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Snapchat,
All the medias.
the medias.
The medias. You can find me on Twitter at thejester1138 and Instagram. On the same Jester1138.
You're never
I
on
think.
it. Doesn't matter.
You can find me on Twitter at a king named Simba. Boom, boom. Have fun out there.
All
All
power to
the
all
power
the
to all the people. Race is not included.
Peace.
Yeah. Bye.
Isn't it funny that Topher Grace gets to be in 2 70s things?
He was in that 70s movie, and then that 70s
70s
show.
He graduated.
Which is funny because it also reminded me of the blind spotting poster with the black kid, and it said courageous. And it was like, apply for the Oakland.
Oh, yes.
Can I be
Yeah.
courageous?
Can I be
That's
courageous? And not
I
expect
thought you
us to
liked
end up there.
Coke. Why do you have a Pepsi truck?
I didn't even realize it was a Pepsi truck. Get out of here.
Because, rednecks like Pepsi.
Do they?
Sure.
Let us know in the comment section if you can decipher what these props are supposed to be.
I think I
You
couldn't
know
get past
what?
the camera work.
You know what?
Terrible.
When I go for walks, I don't go for a walk that's like that. You know how far this way I have to walk to get that way? No. That was not a lazy
You're just
person bridge.
really talking about that bridge.
That bridge sucks.
We don't know if they were going like in a circular pattern. Maybe they were coming, like it's not you have to cross the bridge and then come back. Maybe
I'm
it's
pretty
like,
sure
I
that
go
was
this
a
way,
quarter of their
the bridge
destination.
is just coming back.
They were not done. They were not close. Forget that bridge.
Back in the
Who's
days
really
before,
strong?
before cars.
The Buscemi.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you saw it too.
That's his brother. I'm pretty.
Oh, it
sure.
is okay.
That actor's last
Because
name
I
is
was
Buscemi.
I was so confused.
But yeah, his name is Michael Buscemi.
Okay.
So
That-
that's why he
you know
looks
what?
so much like Steve
I am
Buscemi.
much calmer now
Yeah.
because I know this
But
information.
yeah, as I was
It's
saying,
a weight that's been
honestly,
lifted off of me.
Dude.
I like you a lot, Topher Grace. You're great.
Yeah.
Man, that 70s show.
Well, he did choose Donna over Jackie. I don't know if that was because of racism. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Who would choose? Why would you choose Jackie?
Jackie's a terrible person.
She's
Oh,
terrible.
Jackie's a terrible person. No, I get
Also,
it.
like he didn't have a choice.
And
That's
Jackie
what she was
didn't like
taking. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Stop interrupting. No more tangents.
But yeah,